Mina, konbanwa, JesusFreakinGamer here, coming at you with Nehemiah chapter 13. The chapter was on the other page, so I had to turn around. Back to my normal time, as usual, tonight, this morning, however you want to phrase it. Yesterday was weird. Today, things are back to normal. And today, this is the last chapter of Nehemiah. Going to be heading into Esther after this. And there are three in particular verses that I want to read out to you. And the end, one of them is the end of a verse. First is 14. All these are Nehemiah speaking. Remember me, O my God, concerning this, and do not wipe out my good deeds that I have done for the house of my God and for its services. And then there is verse 22b. Whenever someone says A or B, A is the first half of the verse, B is the second half of the verse. It's kind of weird, but the whole verse isn't what I'm focusing on, so 22b. Remember me, O my God, concerning this also, and spare me according to the greatness of your mercy. And then down to verse 31b. Remember me, O my God, for good. It says that 3 times in the space of one chapter. I want to say he said it a few times throughout the book of Nehemiah. I'm pretty sure. I won't swear to it. But 3 times here at the end of the chapter. And all 3 of these times were in regards to someone messing up, and he had to set it right. He was the governor over Jerusalem, sent there by the king at that time. So he had to make sure everything was going well. He had to make sure everything was in tip-top shape. And as a God-fearing man, he wanted to make sure that people were obeying the Lord and doing godly things. There are several things that he did. One, if you read at the beginning of the chapter, they were reading from the book of Moses, found out no Ammonites or Moabites should be in the assembly of God, so they separated those 2 people groups from the mixed multitude in Israel. He found out that Eliashib the priest, who had authority over the storerooms of the house of God, he was allied with Tobiah, one of the bad guys from earlier on in this book. Eliashib the priest gave him one of the storerooms as a personal room, and he did that when Nehemiah was away. Nehemiah came back, he was bitterly grieved, and he threw out all that stuff and put all the storeroom things back in their place. He also realized that the Levites weren't getting the portions assigned to them. He found a bunch of Levites working in the fields, and he went to the rulers and said, "Why is the house of God forsaken?" Then he saw how the people in Judah were treading wine presses on the Sabbath. By all means, cover the chapter. Make sure I'm not leading you astray and I'm reading this correctly to you. This is a summation. This goes over the course of the entire chapter. So read behind me. Find out if I'm saying it correctly. Go behind me and see for yourself. I very much so encourage that. When I'm wrong, please point it out. I appreciate the correction there. He saw people from Judah trading wine presses on the Sabbath, bringing in sheaves, loading donkeys, trading with the men of Tyre. And he was like, guys, why are you profaning the Sabbath? We've already had plenty of wrath poured out on us. We were kicked out of our nation for 70 years. Why are you doing this mess again? What's going on here? Stop this. And then he noticed that the men of Tyre were just chilling outside the gates all night, the night before the Sabbath, and it got to the point where he had to say, "Why do you spend the night around the wall? If you do so again, I will lay hands on you." And he was not referring to prayer there. And at that point, they were like, "Okay, we'll just kind of back off, during the night before the Sabbath and during the Sabbath day." So no more trading at that time. He also noticed that there were some Jews who had married women of Ashdod, Ammon, and Moab, and half of their children spoke the language of Ashdod and could not speak the language of Judah, but spoke concerning the language of one or the other people. I'm going to specify these verses because I'm pretty much reading this verbatim. It's verse 23, 24, and 25. "So I contended with them and cursed them, struck some of them, and pulled out their hair, and made them swear by God, saying, You shall not give your daughters as wives to your sons, nor take their daughters for your sons or yourselves." And then he went on further on to correct a guy called, where is it? Oh, it doesn't mention the guy's name. One of the sons of Joiada, the son of Eliashib, the high priest, he was a son of Sanballat, one of the other bad guys. So drove him out of the priesthood. Just drove him out. Got rid of him. And especially the part about the pulling out of the hair, cursing them, striking some of them, and even the part about separating the Ammonites and the Moabites out of the assembly of God. There are so many issues where we look at that today and say, that would you want that done in the church? Do you think that's right? I don't think some of those things are right for the church today. I don't think some of the laws of Moses apply to this day and age. I think that the laws of Israel were good for the time that Israel was a nation. And I think the moral laws of God are absolutely true to this day. It's still wrong to kill. It's still wrong to steal. It's still wrong to lie. It's still wrong to commit adultery. It is still wrong to do all of those things. And we should still love our neighbors as ourselves. That was not a Jesus thing. That was a Leviticus 19 thing. We should do all those things. But the punishments by law that were in the Old Testament, I don't think we necessarily need to go by all of them today. So striking and cursing people, I probably would not encourage any layman in the church to do that. I wouldn't necessarily say that that was the right action. Now, should people be rebuked for dating and marrying non-Christians? Absolutely. Should people be convicted for not ever taking any time off? Absolutely. Just because we're in the New Testament doesn't mean the Sabbath is gone, even if the day is now Sunday. Or maybe you work a job like an emergency personnel job where you have to work sometimes days or nights any day of the week. Doesn't mean you shouldn't get any time off, and it doesn't mean your department should force you to work, 14 to 21 days straight. Human beings need rest. The Sabbath is there for a reason, and anyone who is going against that does need to be rebuked. So yeah, again, in those ways, those moral laws are absolutely in effect. And all this, at the end, Nehemiah was like, God, I am trying to lead this people to you. I am trying to enforce, as the governor, legally and morally, what is right for this nation. Remember me, my God, for the good that I have done. Can you say that? Can you say that in your life? Since I came back from that family camp and repented of eroge, I have been able to honestly say that. For the mistakes that I'm still making, I am working on them. I'm genuinely trying. I'm not holding anything back from God anymore. I can honestly say it. Can you? Let me challenge you this day to give up the things that are holding you away from God. And even the parts that you don't quite agree with yet, accept the fact that the Bible and God are right, and that the way you think and even the culture you live in is wrong. God's right, not us. And we need to line ourselves up with His word. And Nehemiah was absolutely right. And even though I would say some of those things probably don't apply today, even back in the day I might question some of his methods, the overall heart behind what he did was absolutely right. He wanted the people and the nation to follow God like they should. So can you say that? God, remember me for the good I've done. Are you in a position where your heart and your words and your actions are genuinely attuned to God? Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I love you, and God bless.